Hi, welcome to my channel. Let's teach each other. My name is Jella and I'm glad that you're here. I wanted to create a safe place for new Christians or those who have questions about Christianity. When I was a new Christian, I didn't really have anybody to answer my questions, or I would be told, look it up yourself, or go ask somebody else. And I really struggled with, I thought I had to be perfect. You don't. You absolutely 100% do not. And I didn't find out until years later that it's not like that we can't be perfect. So I wanted to create this space for, like I said, new Christians, people that have questions, definitely those of you who have tenure in your walk, in your faith, because you can come here and give us your knowledge, your wisdom. And another thing that I wanted to create this for is to kind of have Bible studies, maybe in the future. I don't know what this channel is gonna turn into. I don't know what God has planned. The reason I became a Christian is I was my childhood was rough, and I felt that I had to be physical with men in order for them to love me, and so all my relationships were toxic. And one day I'm just going to be vulnerable right here. I was really high in a Safeway parking lot, and I just looked up at God and I'm like, what is my purpose? What am I doing here? I have 2 older daughters and I was about to be homeless and I'm a drug addict. So, God, what's the plan? And so I asked him if he would give me a son and that I would raise him in the church, and at a certain point I would give him back to God, to him. And I became homeless, and my ex, baby's daddy, we did eventually get married. We are divorced, but at the time we were living in the suburban, and I found out that I was pregnant at 4 months. I called him up and I said, yes, I'm pregnant. He's like, what do you want to do? And I said, well, we can't keep the baby. He's like, you want to abort it? And I'm like, no, I want to give it up for adoption. He's like, well, that's my baby too. And I'm like, where are we going to put the crib in the suburban? This isn't the life to bring a baby into. I don't believe in abortion. I believe that there are alternatives. And if I were to get pregnant again and my life was at risk, save the baby. I've lived my life, save the baby. There are people out there that want to adopt. That's another subject. So, a month or so later, I go and I get an ultrasound done. I found out I was having a boy, and I broke down and I cried. I bawled. I didn't cry. I bawled because God had answered my prayer. I obviously was using when I was pregnant. I did stop at 7 months. At his birth, his meconium was clean. I had been clean. Of course, social services was called, and they came 4 days later and took him. I did everything I had to do in order to get him back, and I did. My husband and we got married after he was born, while he was in foster care. And so we got him back. And he is the joy of my life. God sent him to save me, and I'm trying not to cry because I don't know where I would be if God didn't answer my prayer. I am raising him in the church, and he's smart, and he's funny, and he's intelligent, and he's loving, and he's kind. And I thank God all the time for him, for saving me, because that's what did it. He saved me. I did know about God. I did know about the Trinity, and I believe in the Trinity, 3 in 1. I just didn't believe that it was for me. You know, I had a grandma that was like trying to stuff it down my throat, and he's the only way. And I'm like, well, what about the book of Judas that was found? You know, wasn't Judas a priest? And like, I'm like, what about the band, Judas Priest? You know, and so I was just really rebellious and everything. But after he gave me my son, I really started going to church and reading my Bible and whatnot. And he's just so, God is so loving and merciful and caring, and like his love is unconditional. I'm telling you, there are times where I still fail, and he still blesses me. He still blesses me. Like beyond imagination. I was living with my grandma one time, and she had some kind of stroke or something and ended up passing. Well, her house was on a reverse mortgage, so I had like 6 months to find a place. So I applied for this one place, and I got in, and they were like, oh, it's going to be 7 more months before you can move in. And I'm like, I don't have that time. But in between the time that I applied and the time that I was accepted, I applied for housing. So I applied for the program, applied for Section 8, was approved for the program. And then after I was approved for the program, I got a letter in the mail saying, hey, you've been approved. Give us a call and come fill the paperwork out and stuff like that. So here's the thing. I begged God to get me accepted into this program. He did. He did. But in between here, I applied for Section 8, which actually ended up being better. And I was able to get housing for my son and I. And God has provided that for me because I have health problems and I'm not able to work right now. And so for me, just like God got me through some stuff in my addiction. There's stuff that I should have been sitting in federal prison for. He gave me a son. I am raising him in the church. I have given him back to him. And there's just so many. Okay, so another instance is, or example, I was working at a McDonald's from like 8 at night to like 2 or 4 in the morning, and this gentleman came in and he ordered a drink and a sandwich and or like a meal, and it came out to like $5. He's like, no, I'll just take a drink, my wife will kill me if I spend all this money. I'm like, I got you. So I had $11 in my wallet, right? And it was like $5 and some change, so I paid for it. Well, after work I would go to the store and do grocery shopping and take what I could home. Something told me, what I didn't know then, I know now, is the Holy Spirit. Look in your wallet. And there was still $11 in my wallet. So it's not just what he says in the Bible. It's things that he's done in my life. He's always provided me housing, even when I was homeless and I lived in a suburban, not this one, but I still had something over my head where I didn't have to sleep in the elements, you know? And even when we lost that suburban, there were hotels and people that hotels where programs would pay for hotels during the cold winter days, or people's couches or whatever. And so that's just the beginning of my story. And I hope that you come, that you feel safe, ask questions. I will do my best to get back to you and answer all of them in a timely manner. I am a single mom. I do have time on my hands. But this is me in a nutshell, just a little bit of me. God bless you. Welcome to my channel, and I hope that you stay.